The 2021 Endurance E-Racing World Championship Round 2 FilmVolt 12 Hours of Silverstone is brought to you in partnership with ESRB Sports Network, Gte Gaming, SimLab, MotorVision.tv, Global Flix, Racing for Green, and AMD Ryzen Radeon.
The mix.
Hello everybody and welcome to official practice for the 12 Hours of Silverstone, the second round of the Endurance E-Racing World Championship here in 2021. Second round of 6. We're heading to Sebring after this in March, but focusing on Silverstone for now for the 12-hour race, and looks like it's going to be quite a soggy one really. It's quite wet already in official practice here. Rain forecast all throughout the weekend as well, which is absolutely not good for some and great for others, so we'll see how it benefits, but it certainly looks like it's going to be a very, very wet session here tonight at the very least. Bringing you through the action here tonight, it's me, Ewan O'Leary, at least for the first part, and I'm alongside Neil Heatley once again, who's returning to GTR 24H. It's good to have you back, Neil. It's good to be racing here in Silverstone as well for 12 hours. I know it's only practice at the moment, but as I said, good place to be racing, and yeah, glad to be back for racing here at Silverstone. If Neil's there, maybe he's not. We'll wait for him to come back. But he might not be there for the moment. I will be joined by Neil Heatley in the next few moments' time. But for the moment, he's not there. We'll wait on that one. While we're doing that, while we're waiting for that, already got an interview for the practice. I'm just going to message him again, just so he knows that we're ready, but yeah, we're hopefully going to get a few of these guys in for an interview along the stream tonight. I think it's a couple of hours, 3 hours, can't quite remember, but yeah, we've got a little bit of time to go through really what happened in Indianapolis, and then and then kind of talk about it, and then talk to some drivers, how they're feeling ahead of Silverstone. Maybe Neil's with us now. Neil, are you there?
Yes, it turns
Yes.
out your microphone doesn't work if it's not plugged in.
Funny that.
That's a key thing. But yes, it's been a while since you heard my glorious, luscious tones here at GTR, and I'm back again. Indeed, as you were saying before, you and we are at Silverstone for a 12-hour race on Saturday, and indeed, you said the weather looks rather interesting. Let's put it that way for the weekend.
It looks quite British, really. It's quite fitting because, we're just coming out the other end of winter at the moment in the Northern Hemisphere, as you probably know. It's quite wet. As I was mentioning a few minutes ago, we're going to try and get a few of these drivers in, and we already have one. And thanks to everybody down at Omicron for sorting this out. I was talking to Joseph Frederic Suto a moment ago, trying to sort this out, but he's brought in Thomas Garcia of the Omicron sim racing team, and we'll give them a bit of an interview. Obviously, third place back in Indy, Thomas, didn't end in the way you would have liked, but were you encouraged by the pace that your team actually showed at the Indianapolis race? Because you surprised a few people, including me, I have to say.
I mean, the pace was good from my side. Of course, I was the fastest of all the team for that weekend. In this weekend, I think we are closer, me and Patrick, and then the other guys are just a bit behind, but the pace on Indy was good. We could have done P2 easily. We had the opportunity to win, but the pace wasn't good enough to keep drillers behind after the issue they had, and basically all the hopes of finishing second disappeared when we got permanent damage from literally going through an LMP2 and getting glued together. So it was the race for us.
Yeah, I remember that. It looked a little bit strange, and unfortunately it ended your race. What do you think it's going to take to get near drillers here at Silverstone and here in the season as well? Because they're obviously going to be very difficult to beat, but what is it going to take from you guys? What kind of performance is it going to take from you guys to topple them in this championship and in these races?
To be fair, we are going to need a whole package, to be honest. Drillers isn't an easy team to fight with. They have very good drivers, they have a lot of preparation behind the races, and I believe that in this weekend they will still be stronger than us. Of course, now in the rain, we are just trying to get the feel for it and see how the car feels, just to get sure that tomorrow we are prepared for it. But apart from that, there is nothing we can really do. Our target tomorrow is just to try to finish the race in second place, where we should have finished in Indy, and basically just get those points and hope for the best in the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. That is, to an extent, all that you can do. I mentioned a few moments ago, and you briefly touched on it as well, the weather that is impending here at Silverstone. How are you feeling about that? Would you like some rain, or would you rather it stayed away this weekend?
I would pretty much rather that it stays away, because I don't really like the rain. In fact, with this car, I think that it's a very big factor, because it makes us slower than the LMP2s. It's been a very difficult stuff to deal with, not only here but in other competitions as well. And I believe that for this track it should be better just to stay with dry weather and have a pretty normal race.
Driver, it might not come, but we'll see, certainly. One more thing as well before we let you go and get back to practicing here in this session. How are you feeling about the traffic in this particular race? There's a lot of it. Over 30 cars are going to start this race, I believe, for the 12 hours of Silverstone. There was a lot in Indy, but it was actually quite good. I thought the traffic was dealt with a lot better by everybody than I thought it could have been. So what do you think around here? Because there's a lot of fast-flowing corners that are quite difficult to get, because the GTs are so slow through the faster corners. You prototypes really have to mind out. So how are you managing? How are you thinking the traffic management is going to go during the race?
To be honest, it's going to depend on which car you are lapping, because even if Indy have some good drivers that actually behaved and gave you the space, There were others that were completely asleep and didn't care that you were flashing them behind or that you were close to them. And it's going to be pretty much the same for this track. It is going to really to depend on the driver and on the team to be focusing on that and to actually care about what's going on around them. And to be honest, this track has a lot of points where you can actually lap people, and apart from those zones, it's pretty much impossible because you either don't get the run out of the corner in order to make the pass, or basically you have to stick behind one of them because you have, for example, Maggots and Beckets, which is basically a whole section that you have to stay behind them unless you get a run for one of the corners. So it's going to be hard on those parts, but apart from that, if you take into account the normal parts of the track which you can actually lap people, like turn 3, maybe also the back straight, and the one that is leading to Cops, it's going to be a track where lapping is going to be easy until it's not.
Yeah, absolutely. So we wish you the best of luck with that. Thanks very much for joining us here in practice for an interview. Yeah, we wish you the best of luck this weekend. I hope it goes well.
Thank you so much.
There we go, Thomas Garcia from the Omicron Sim Racing team, actually the team founder and owner, I think, of that particular team. Got a very international lineup, actually. Garcia himself is a Spaniard. Suto, who we saw driving in Indy, is a Slovakian driver. Got Magnus Kunrup as well. He's Danish. Patrice Gilvassi, who is currently on the top of this practice session, is Hungarian, and they've got John Nelson registered on the team as well. He's American, so a very, very international team. Spread all over the world, really. But Garcia then, it was quite upbeat about the traffic situation, actually. I feel like prototypes get particularly frustrated at this circuit because, as I mentioned, you have to stay behind GTs quite a lot through these very fast corners which you can get around this circuit. But you seem quite upbeat, and there seems to be at least a few places where these prototypes can very easily get through.
Yes, of course, the prototypes are so much quicker in a straight line than the GT cars. You've got to remember they're also so much faster in a corner. And if you catch the GT cars at the wrong point, well, you have to lift off, brake, and if you're in a racing situation, that could lose you a lot of time. But yes, Silverstone, it has got some very fast corners, but of course it is a very fast circuit. Like Thomas said there, you've got the pit straight, you've got the Wellington straight down towards Luffield, you've got the old pit straight up towards Stowe, the straight back towards Maggots and Beckets, and then the hanger straight around the back of the circuit. So there's a good 5 or 6 overtaking opportunities for the prototypes, both the hypercars and the LMP2s around Silverstone. But the thing is, you're going to lose so much time if you just catch them in the wrong place.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to see a lot of gaps ebbing and flowing throughout the race, really. You may see them go out to 10 seconds maybe with a couple of bad laps for one car, and then it closes right back in again before you can even realise. And that can happen very easily if you catch cars at sections like Maggots and Beckets, which is going to be talked about quite a lot this weekend, I believe. Other prototypes that's out there, or hypercars, should I say. We talked to the Omicron guys. They've got drillers who are leading the championship at the moment. They're Indianapolis winners from 1 month ago. Satellite Racing came second in that race, and both of those two teams got the bonus point for completing the race. Drillers got another bonus point for getting pole position. Omicron didn't finish the race, unfortunately. They had to retire. But Drillers are... We forecasted this really at the start of the season. Drillers in that hypercar field with Scuderia Basilia, Satellite and Omicron around them. They were red-hot favourites to win that hypercar championship, and they're looking in a great place to do so at the moment.
Indeed, Drillers, a very, very strong team. We know from generally endurance sim racing around the on R Factor 2, yes, they are a very strong team, and they certainly are the ones to beat in hypercars. But we go back to what you said earlier with Omicron, and you said how it was a very international squad with Americans and Europeans as well. And that can be incredibly helpful in an endurance race to have people in different time zones, because obviously you don't particularly want to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning then jump onto your sim rig. That's just me though. At this moment, I prefer a little bit of sleep rather than doing that. But having people in different time zones means that, you know, your team can drive, each member of your team can drive during the day when, you know, they're not going to be particularly tired, they're not going to be particularly fatigued.
Yeah, 2 o'clock in the afternoon is a lot more appealing than 2 o'clock in the morning, I have to say, for driving an endurance race. So yeah, it can be very, very helpful. We didn't actually see John Nelson, I don't believe, at the Indianapolis 12-hour. I think part of the reason is, well, we're not going to see him start the race, I wouldn't imagine, because the race would start at 6 a.m. for him in America, or maybe even if he lives on the West Coast, so maybe it's going to be even earlier than that. Yeah, it's doubtful we'll see him at the start, but maybe towards the end we'll see him. But yeah, as you say, it's very, very helpful to have people from different time zones to kind of help spread that kind of balance that you need to have, especially during the 24 hours which we have at the end of this season in Spa and in Le Mans, of course, in October, where hopefully time zones won't be, or time zone differences won't be a real factor, because everybody will be in the same place. But we'll see about that one. Got a bit of an asterisk next to the land part of that event, as I'm pretty sure every event that exists at the moment in real life has. Yeah, we'll keep you posted on that, of course. Keep your eyes on the GTR 24H YouTube channel and all the social medias that you can follow us on, and you can get updates from that. In the practice session at the moment, just to update you, Patrick Gavassi is leading the charge with a 45.2 best lap. However, he set that in dry conditions, so he's a comfortable 15 seconds quicker than the next type of car, which isn't quite representative, so I wouldn't worry about that too much in terms of the race here. But he seems to be doing the 2-minute ones for the moment. I've been trying to keep an eye on his lap times in the last few moments, and he keeps to be a couple of seconds slower maybe than Henry Sinnick, but obviously you can lose time and gain it very easily in these type of conditions. Could be interesting in qualifying though. If you get a situation like that, there could be a mad dash out of the start if it's dry and it's going to get wet, or if it's the other way around, we could see a very, very congested circuit towards the end of one of the qualifying sessions, maybe, if we see that similar kind of situation.
Yes, I would call the weather, well, at least the track conditions at the moment, moist. I think that's the best way. You can still see a couple of the rooster tails coming back from behind the GT cars. Well, I was just looking at GT cars at that point. Obviously, there's going to be rooster tails off the back of all of the cars. But yes, that qualifying session. Of course, we've got two times as we're having a look at Felipe Barreto going off there into the barriers at. Oh, that's a good question. Where is that? I think that was at. I'm just trying to think, where have you got that? That might be the chicane, actually, at the end of the lap. I can't quite tell. I've never really driven the new Silverstone that much, because, to be honest, I don't really like the new Silverstone. What? But I know, blasphemy. I don't particularly like the new Silverstone.
I have to say I prefer it to the old one, if I'm honest. Yeah.
But yes, you're talking about qualifying tomorrow evening. It's 2 times 2 sessions of 2 hours each, and is exactly as you said. They're going to be keeping an eye on the weather the entire time, and if it's going to rain in the first 20 minutes or so, you're going to see everyone setting hot laps immediately, and that's going to be a mad dash with 30 cars across 4 classes trying to all qualify at the same time.
Yeah, make sure you tune in tomorrow for qualifying, because it could be a very energised start, and we'll be on air from 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. if you, I think it's 7 p.m. Europe, and 6 p.m. UK. Yeah, that and then half an hour. Yeah, so 2 hours, then a half an hour break, then the second 2 hours to set, and it's going to be an average from the 2 times. It's what we've done for quite a while now, actually. I think in qualifying. Taking an average from the 2 qualifying sessions, and if you don't do one of them, then you get quite. I can't remember what the lap time would be. I think it might be given 3 minutes or 10 minutes. So it's worse than that. Okay.
I think, if I remember correctly, I think it's just set to 10 minutes.
Right. Okay.
As that was Adam Serega just having a look at the YouTube stream, going off in quite a fantastically spectacular fashion off of the Aintree. That's the name of the left-hander coming onto the Wellington Straight.
I have to say I've seen quite a few big offs so far. Been kind of monitoring the practice server for about nearly an hour now, and I've seen quite a few offs, I have to say. So it's tricky out there. It really is, because these are not low-profile drivers by any stretch of the imagination. You've got some of the best endurance and sports car drivers out here that exist on R-Factor 2, really. So, quite an illustration.
There we go. Yes, and I would say race director there, Jon, asking people to come to the green room for some interviews so we can speak to them.
Yes, we'd hopefully we'd like to see a few.
I promise we won't, I don't know, bite or anything like that. It's fine.
No, it's fine. We're friendly. We hope to see a few people in the green room, so we can have a bit of a interview, have a bit of a chat about how things are going and how things may go in the future. A belated happy birthday as well, by the way, to John, who's just had a birthday yesterday, I think it was. On the job again today in race control, and he'll have a busy weekend as well, I'd imagine, with all the other race directors, race stewards. It's a busy weekend coming up, but happy belated birthday to John, celebrating yesterday.
Yes.
On the job again today.
Yes, John being 18 plus some years.
I was not going to mention it. Didn't want to be rude.
Well, I am. Yes, you were saying about the big offs earlier, and that's because, well, it's still slightly wet, and you can't really go wide. There we go. 46. There we go. He said it. He said it. This is not my fault.
Was it? I didn't know. That's why. You won't have heard that, by the way. If you're watching on the stream, you won't have heard that. But it was Peter's the day before, so happy belated birthday to him as well, because I didn't know that.
And Peter's also 18 plus some years.
He is. He's more than 18.
Can confirm.
He is.
As you were saying about the big offs, and that's because it's still slightly wet and it is still damp out there in the circuit, and some of these teams might just be starting to do a little bit of testing on the dry tyre, for example, the slick tyre, and of course the slick tyre, well known for its gripability in the wet. Yes. And also you've got to be careful, because the curbs will be ever so slightly slippery in the wet, but if you get a couple of wheels onto the grass or the AstroTurf on the very edge of the circuit, well, that's going to be no fun for you at all, and you're going to just be spearing off at a high rate of knots. And we've seen that with a couple of teams already in this practice session.
And the water kind of sits in the curbs, really, so you want to avoid them for quite a long time, even if it does stop raining in the next few moments. We've got some people in the green room, by the way, which is good to see. I'm going to bring up who am I going? Matthias Blom, who I'm going to go for first. Here we go, driver for the number 13 GT3 team of Danish Racing League. That's the name I was looking for. Matthias, welcome to the broadcast. How are things going for you guys so far? We're in practice at the moment. How are you guys feeling about the car and feeling about the proposition of 12 hours at Silverstone this weekend?
We are actually looking really good in the rings. The car feels very good, very solid. We just have some issues with the traction out of the corners.
I think that's quite an issue for a lot of people, actually, and a lot of people struggling with it. Now, in Indianapolis, I have to say, GT3 was my favourite category to watch. I absolutely love seeing the battle in GT3. There were 4 cars in real good contention for a great result. Obviously, Unison Racing beat you out in the end. But what were your guys feeling after that particular race? It was very hard fought, of course. So, were you happy with second place in the end?
We were really happy with the second place. Of course, we wanted first place, but second place was really good because at the end, it looked like we were getting fourth. Maybe we could battle for third, so second place was really, really good for us.
Yeah, now from last season's performance, I noticed from your Le Mans result in particular from last season, you've had a bit of a step up, I would say, in terms of kind of overall pace within the team. Just over a whole race distance, you seem to be a little bit stronger. Do you feel like you're better as a team now than you maybe were 6 months ago, or do you think that you've maybe I don't know? What do you think that's down to? Have you got any stronger in between your particular drivers, or is that not really the case?
For last season, the Danish racing, we changed all the drivers, so it's actually a complete new lineup. Instead of last year, there was other drivers driving the Le Mans race.
Yeah, absolutely. And one final thing as well, because since you're in the GT3 car, we've already had a prototype driver saying, traffic's not going to be too bad around here at Silverstone. So what's your opinion on that? As a GT3 driver, as a GT3 team, what's your opinion on the kind of traffic situation that we have here at Silverstone?
We're not looking forward to the S corners where people are going to overtake us. That doesn't look good. We are very scared about that, and I'm really, really afraid that something goes wrong in those corners.
Yeah, I think you're. I don't want to say right to be fearful, but certainly it's going to be very, very tricky for you all race. Matthias, thanks very much for coming up to talk to us, we wish you the best of luck for this weekend's race.
Thank you, and have a nice day.
Thanks very much to Matthias Blom for coming up and having a chat with us from Danish Racing League number 13 in the GT3 category. Got a couple more people in here as well, so we'll bring them up here now as well, and we'll move Matthias down. Oh no, he's gone. Never mind. Oh no, I've picked him up and I can't put him down. There we go. I'll put him down now. Here we go. We'll get Alan Hansen in now from the number 766 DSR Dream Team LMP2 car on this occasion. I need to give him the right to talk here first before I ask him anything. Here we go. Alan, there we go. Yeah, there we go. Alan, how are things going within DSR Dream Team at the moment? LMP2 car, and what are your guys feeling about Silverstone and the rain conditions, the kind of wet conditions that we've got out there on the circuit at the moment? Oh, I don't think he's there, or if he is, then we can't hear him. So that's a bit of a.
Hello.
Oh, he's there.
There we go. Oh, sorry. Hello.
Hi. I'm sorry about that.
Well, I heard you. So
okay.
We are absolutely not amused about the weather. We don't like the rain, but we love the track. So that's how it is. So we pray for dry on.
Yeah, it's looking more unlikely with every time I check the forecast, actually. But
we know.
Yeah, it's looking a little bit wet, I'm afraid. Now, since last season, in 2020, you were competing in the GTR 24H Endurance Series. You were driving a GT3 car, and you've moved not even just to GTE. You've taken two steps all at once here and gone straight to the LMP2. Why would you do that? But why did you do that? And how have you been finding the transition between two very different cars, it has to be said?
Yeah, first you get the funny version. We were sick and tired of never overtaking. So that problem is solved, but we like the car. We wanted to try something different. We have been for 3 years in the GT3, so something new should happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to have a new challenge.
It is a big step.
Yeah, it certainly is. You guys didn't have the best of times out there at Indianapolis. You did get 1 point for at least finishing the race, but you weren't inside the top 10. Is that a realistic proposition for Silverstone? Do you think you'll be able to get inside the top 10, maybe even get a bit further up than that?
Let me be honest. It would be a great result, but we don't think we're gonna get there. But we are a bit of a hobby team. We are the second team from the Nightmare team. So our approach is more like a hobby. That's how it is, and we can see by the years gone by that the competition has been it's going to be better and better. They're getting faster and faster, and we don't even move that much, so we are getting behind. We have to make some decisions for the future because they are very competitive and they are very skilled drivers in this competition, and the standards are getting higher and higher, and we are some old men. We don't follow, so we're hanging on with the nails in the back of the field.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to have you on the grid, though. I have to say, it's obviously very recognisable names from GTR down the years. You've been here. Well, I can't remember you not being here in the EEWC. But yeah, one more thing as well before you go. Well, I had one in my head, but I've forgotten it. So that happens very easily. We'll let you go to continue practice here for the next few moments because we've got it's practice, and I guess you want to get back to your team. So thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you,
Alan, and
Thank you.
we wish you luck for those for this weekend.
Thank you very much. Bye.
There we go. That was Alan Hansen. It's quite embarrassing when I forget my questions like that, but it happens from time to time. Here, Neil, do you want to interview the number 45 Yannick Gossar driver here, or do you want me to do it?
Yes, no, I shall do it. And before we talk to Yannick Gossar, got to thank our main sponsors for the race, Global Flix and FilmVolt Limited. Thank you for supporting us. But yes, we now have Yannick Gossar from the number 45 DIS SR Lab. There you go. Got to get that all-important name done. And indeed, last time in that 45 car, I'm just trying to find where you are on the list. There we go. A podium last time out at Indianapolis, third place, just behind Pescara, just ahead of Musto GD Esports. Tell us about how your race was last time out at Indianapolis.
Yeah, hello gents. Good to see you once again. Well, it was coming into Indianapolis and stepping up to GTE from GT3 was quite we were a bit surprised ending up in P3, and I think of course it gave us a bit of motivation going in here to Silverstone, but I think the race went beyond what we expected in Indianapolis, and I think we got our work cut out for us to try to do the same this time around.
And the weather, well, looks slightly damp out there at the moment, and it looks like it may be wet over the course of the weekend, but of course it is the UK, so the weather is always changeable. How are you trying to adapt your car setup and your driving style to the changeable weather that we're going to be seeing this weekend?
Yeah, I think we've actually mostly been driving the dry, which is probably a mistake. Things other we can take into consideration. I think right now we are trying to figure out how do we mitigate this bit of a disruption for us at least, and I think trying to find a setup where we can do a bit of both is our car is from the get-go set up quite soft, which of course is good for the wets. But I think managing tires and figuring out how we should manage the brake balance throughout the life cycle of the tires is currently where we're having a focus on. But I think it's going to be tough. We hope for mostly dry, but let's see.
You said you're moving from GT3 to GTE. Of course, both of them look very similar on the outside, of course, but they've got so much different in the internal machinery. What are the main differences between GTE and GT3 that you found?
Of course, the obvious is that there's no ABS on the GTE cars, which is, of course, something that we had to adapt to. It wasn't that much of a difference. It had a bit of focus on our setup. We changed pedals when we got into GTE to be better at managing break. Other than that, the difference isn't that big. A bit more downforce, a bit more power, but it's not that much of a difference, especially here in the wets. I also think that we can see on the times currently there's not that much of a difference between the GTE and the GT3. I think Morten Eisen in the 13 car is putting out some very good laps in a GT3 class. So yeah, it's not that much of a difference, but of course braking and a bit of downforce is there, of course.
Yeah. So what are your team's shall we say aspirations, hopes for the race on Saturday? Obviously you'll be hoping to try and replicate that podium from Indianapolis.
For sure, yeah. I think our goal coming into Indianapolis was being in the better half of the field. So I think we probably put our expectations a bit higher now, and I think a top 5 would be we would be very happy if we were able to manage that. I think the guys at Musto and Deuces, which were they were a bit unlucky in the Indianapolis, we will for sure see them coming strong into this race. So if we can keep ourselves in top 5, we'll be more than happy.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us, and I suppose we should let you get back to practicing for qualifying and indeed the race.
Thank you very much.
And there we go, that was Yannick Gossar from the number 45 DIS SR lab in the GTE class. But yes, they seem quietly optimistic for the race this weekend.
Yeah, they do. It's a very interesting team, I think, actually, the number 45. They do have the 46 as well here. They're not, well, they did last season anyway, but they had 2 cars. They've kept their second car, or they call it their second car, in GT3 for the moment. I don't think it had quite as good of a run. No, it didn't, I'm afraid. 6th place for them, and they were really detached from the main 4 who were fighting for that GT3 title, I guess you could say, in Indy 1 month ago. But yeah, the ISSR lab, they do have a website, and it's quite good to go and visit, actually. It's quite good for us commentators. It gives us quite a lot of information. When I was scrolling around there before Indianapolis, found quite a lot of useful facts, including the fact that Yannick Gossar first started sim racing in 2001, which is outrageous because that's 20 years ago now. Yes,
that's got to be what, before you were born. No,
that was before I was born. Thanks.
Fantastic. I'll just make everyone else feel horrifically old. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, well, you make him feel old first of all, but yeah, everyone else as well. Now, I did bring that up actually, that he'd been sim racing before my existence last month, Indianapolis, and before I got to the year, Ossian said, "Oh, he must have started in 2010 or something then." So that was nice of him. But no, he's been around the block. Let's say Yannick Gossar. So he's not a bad driver either. Certainly, the star driver of their squad really is Andy Kurtzen, who is easily the fastest of. Well, I don't want to say easily the fastest, but he is certainly the fastest. I don't want to offend anybody, but he is certainly the fastest. He is the fastest of the 3 of them. But it's kind of hard to know who's driving that car often because they're in the same location, so they just swap a seat in real life rather than virtually like everybody else. So it is a bit hard to tell sometimes, but he is 3 very quick drivers, and Andy Kurtz in the forefront of those 3, of course.
Yes, and you see that with quite a few teams here. They will actually just share one rig, and they'll just jump in and out during the course of the race, which I think can also be quite fun as well, as opposed to just trying to hand it over constantly across the internet, and you'll only ever I would say see people on TeamSpeak. That's not necessarily true. Speak to them on TeamSpeak. But just actually being in the same place with each other can be a very interesting experience.
Yeah, we might well get that experience again in October with everybody in the same place. But as I said, we'll see about that one a little bit later on, of course. Still in the session right now, I haven't looked at the server for quite a long time, but I've noticed it's got incredibly dark very quickly. It's like someone's drawn the curtain, really, and it's completely just gone black. So that's going to be a little bit tricky, and it is going to go dark towards the end of the race, let's not forget, because I don't quite know what time the game is starting or what time it's going to be in game, but 12 o'clock midday, so it is going to get dark pretty much for more than half the race. Actually, in winter it gets dark quite early, doesn't it? It's like 5 p.m. in the UK, so yeah, that's going to be dark for a good 6.5, 7 hours. That's a lot of if you don't like your night driving, then that's going to be a real problem, having 7 hours of darkness to end the race.
If you don't like your night driving, well, why are you endurance racing?
Well, that is a very good point.
But yes, it's starting to get incredibly dark, and especially with the rain now as well, that just makes the visibility so much less, and it makes the driving so much harder, especially in these multi-class situations.
Yeah, absolutely, of which we have a lot of right now. It registered in the server, we've got 43 cars of all different classes. Some teams have got 2 drivers representing themselves, so Yuri Toman and Daniel Wisner are both out there for Varga, for example, and there are many examples up and down the field of people with more than one car, more than one driver driving the same car, proverbially, because it's practice at the moment. Obviously in qualifying and the race, that's not allowed for obvious reasons, but for practice now it is indeed allowed. I think I've actually gone a little bit past our time, but I think it's now time for a little bit of a commercial break if we can get one in. Yeah, we'll take one of those. When we come back on the other side, we'll have more action here from official practice. You're currently watching the FilmVolt 12 hours of Silverstone official practice, the second round of the GTR 24H Endurance E-Racing World Championship here in 2021, and we'll be back after this short break.
The 2021 Endurance E-Racing World Championship Round 2 FilmVolt 12 Hours of Silverstone is brought to you in partnership with ESR Esports Network, Leap Gaming, SimLab, Motorvision.tv, Global Flix, Racing for Green, and AMD Ryzen Radeon.
Hello and welcome back after that short commercial break, and well, Ewan's gone for some beauty sleep, so there we go. So I'm now here with Peter Munkle instead. Or he...
There we go, Neil, I'm
there we
sorry.
Go. He was gently panicking in the background as he said he couldn't speak.
It's just that I'm sitting in front of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screens, and I had to find the right one with the TeamSpeak on it and unmute myself, because of course I don't want all my producer jargon to go out on the live stream normally when I'm not commentating like a regular dude.
Yes, and there we go. We have now got another interviewee. It is, let me have a look, let me find out. It's Martin Nalatai from the number 41 Mugen Racing team. And last time out, Mugen Sim Racing. And last time out in Indianapolis, it was a podium for the number 41 car, 3rd place.
Yeah, it was a good race for us. I mean, we could have been a better place, but unfortunately our engine broke. But yeah, I am really happy about that 3rd place as well.
And of course, coming to Silverstone this weekend, and it looks like it's going to be a fairly wet race, and indeed perhaps a wet qualifying session as well. And of course, that requires a different way of driving, and it requires a much different setup from dry conditions, doesn't it?
Yeah. We are preparing not really special setup for wet, but try to make it. How should I say? The best for the wet, because as the weather update says, the race most of the time will be really wet, about 80% I think. So it will be quite tricky, I think.
Yes, and of course this interesting qualifying format tomorrow with the 2 sets of sessions in the same evening, and of course taking an average of the 2 times. How is the 41 team approaching this qualifying session tomorrow?
I mean, we are really looking forward to it. We have I think, a really good pace for the time being. One session for the time I think will be dry, and the next one will be wet. So, yeah, again, it will be tricky.
And of course, last time out at Indianapolis, you did get the pole position, and that extra bonus point for getting the pole position, you'll of course be able to get another pole position, won't you?
That would be awesome, yeah.
Yeah. And yes, have you drawn up a team driving time plan, if you like, for Saturday already, or are you just going to all be there on Saturday and just see how it goes after that?
We'll see. I mean, yeah. We don't really have a big driving plan. We will sort it out, I mean, later. But we'll see. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us, and I hope at least the qualifying and the race goes well for you in that number 41 team.
Thank you. I really hope so.
And there we go. So yes, that number 41 Mugen team did do quite well last time at Indianapolis. Pole position bonus point and a 3rd place, which makes it 15 more. And here at the EEWC, we use the FIA points system. If you like to go, it's 25, 18, 15, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, 1 for the top 10. You get a bonus point for pole position, and if you finish the race, you get an extra bonus point. So 27 points available each weekend here in the EEWC. And there you go, you can see the number 41 very nicely in the garage there, and I must say it is a very, very nice livery, that number 41. And of course, livery painting in R Factor 2 is a little bit of an art of its own. Sometimes it can be so difficult. Sometimes it can be so difficult to try and line up all the vectors, line up all the panels, and make something look really good. But I must say that number 41 car does look quite nice.
That is really, really nice. It's one of the nicer cars in the field as well, from my perspective and my point of view. Do you know the 1 point for completing the race, Neil? Do you know why it's there?
Oh, to give an incentive for everyone to finish, no matter where they are.
Exactly, because obviously when you're in one of the higher ranking teams, you would most likely do all that you could to finish the race. But if you're one of the teams that are fighting for maybe that last point in 10th place or something like that, and it's not looking like you're going to get it, why should you continue when you're not going to get more points for finishing in the points place? Well, obviously, you have to give the same points as the person that finishes in the last of the regular point standings to everyone that actually finishes the race, because then it makes sense for everyone to just finish the race. That 1 point could actually be the difference between, I don't know, down at the bottom, it's important to beat your comrades and whoever you've been racing against for the entire season. So that could be the difference between maybe finishing total 10th or 11th, something like that.
Indeed, as I believe we now have another interview. The username is B32 Racing Pit. Of course, B32 Racing is one of these teams we were talking about earlier who stay in the same place and just swap out drivers in and out. So, can I ask, who are we speaking to from B32?
Yeah, you are speaking to Cole.
Oh yes, it's Cole.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Yes.
Again.
And yes.
hello, Neil. Long time.
It has been a long time. I think last time I spoke, I think I was visiting your base in Denmark and having a go in your rig and comprehensively beating Nick Newcomb in a hot lap time trial.
Oh, sorry. I you have to ask again. I couldn't hear you.
Yes, last time I spoke to you, I was in your base at B32.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, you were.
Oh, so it wasn't the point about beating Nick's time that you wanted to hear again.
Also, of course, I will say that again if you need to, but I did beat Nick's time in a hot lap time trial. I mean, what can I say?
Yeah, we have upgraded the system. The driver shaft this time, the base. So when you're coming next time, Neil, then you are going to drive on a direct wheel.
Oh, beautiful! I haven't actually done that before. I don't think. No.
And of course, we're looking forward to that.
Yes, and of course, what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah. What could?
But last time at Indianapolis, you did finish in 10th place.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and because we have to get started in the car, we just had 2 or 3 weeks to learn the car, and that was not enough. So I hope we will do better this time at Silverstone. We had a lot more practice for this race.
Can I ask you about your choice of car? Because you are the only Ligier on track. So, Cole, how does that make sense to choose that car?
It don't make any sense, but we decided to choose the car because it was new, and we haven't learned driving the other LMP2, so we took a chance and switched to the new car. So yeah.
So it's mostly just to try something different.
Yeah. It was to try something different and hope that we maybe could win something out of it.
Yeah, but then 10th place and getting that important 1 point really does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, but yeah.
That was kind of the approval stamp.
Yeah.
It does. The Ligier does work.
Yeah, it do, but I think we have a wrong setup on the car last time.
Okay. And how is that? Wow, that's a crash and a half. That's someone coming into the side of Ellen Hansen in the 766. I think that was down in Farm, maybe? I don't know. I didn't exactly see. It just looked. Oh, that's the number 95 DAC Hacker's car losing control as well. There's a lot of spinners. Coming back to my question, having this little experience in the Ligier, how are you predicting it? I know it's a lot easier to set up the car in the dry. So how are you expecting it to turn out now that it looks like it's going to be a wet race?
Oof. I really don't know, but hopefully it will be better. I've driven it kind of some laps now, and I think the car is it's pretty stable in the rain. So I'm happy. I'm satisfied with the car. So.
Okay, and in your testing, because obviously you must have tested both the Orica, Gibson, and the Ligier. Which one of those did you find the hardest to do a good setup for?
We haven't been testing the Oricas that much, as what I was saying in the start. We chose the Ligier because we haven't driven the Orica. So it was for us was the same if we have to learn the Orica or the Ligier, and then we chose the Ligier because it was the newest car, and then it could be pretty fun to have one of those cars on the track.
Yeah, certainly, and thanks for choosing it and adding to the diversity of cars on track.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So did Neil just leave us alone? Or?
No. I was just letting you speak to each other. That's fine. But yes, for the race on Saturday, of course, a good maybe 60% of it is going to be in the dark. You're going to be going from light to dark, maybe from wet to dry to wet to dry and wet again. How do all these changing conditions really impact the way that you race the race?
It will do a lot of impact. I think you will be surprised that that the rain is coming and then it's dry and wet and dry and wet. So we just have to keep an eye on the weather, the forecast. So maybe we can predict when it's coming. Hopefully.
Weather prediction can be a very, very difficult task most of the time, to be honest. So, what are your goals, if you like, for the race this weekend?
Hopefully better than last time.
Improve on your last result.
Yeah. That's our goal. So. Hopefully we will be 6 or something like that, I think. Maybe. Hopefully.
There we go. I shall write that down. B32, 6th place. Fantastic.
Ow.
So there we go. Thank you, Carl.
Hand on the boilerplate.
Yeah, hand on the boilerplate. Thank you, Carl,
you're welcome.
for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome. And thanks for good racing, and good luck tomorrow with all the things in the server. Hopefully it works out.
Don't worry. That's John's job. He'll take care of it.
Good. Perfect.
Stroke it and touch it in all the right places.
So, yeah. But see you tomorrow, guys.
Yeah, take care.
Take care. Bye.
And yes, there we go. The B32 racing team. Of course, they're based in Middelfart, aren't they? I think it is, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, their base is about 6 kilometers from my house, from the temporary studio right now. This is not even in a state that I should show you what it looks like, because it's a mess.
It can't be any worse than what's happening in my vicinity at the moment. It's fine.
Oh, believe me, it can be.
But yes, coming to Silverstone, of course. Silverstone had a big redesign in 2000 and Oh, good question. 10, I think. It might have been earlier, 2008, and they added essentially the entire first sector. Turns 1, 2, the fast, right, left, and then the double hairpins in the infield and entry down onto the Wellington Straight. And of course, perhaps one of the biggest things is they changed the positioning of the start-finish line.
Exactly. All was done because F1 regulations says that the pit lane must be level. So it can't have, like, it's actually a problem with the Suzuka circuit as well, because obviously the start-finish line is on quite an incline. That is actually against Formula 1 regulations. The pit lane must be level.
Of course, another one with them is that I think, well, of course, they built the new race control in the wing, and another regulation is that the start-finish line must be directly in front of race control.
Yes.
So, yes.
That was actually, back then it was a competition for having the British Grand Prix between Donington and Silverstone. And that was one of the reasons why Donington failed, because they basically had to reconstruct the entire start-finish straight even more than Silverstone did. They would basically have to change the entire track, because the current Donington start-finish straight is on quite... That's on a hill as well, going down. So, yeah.
As the timing screen is lighting up like a Christmas tree at the moment with all the yellow flashing. A yellow flash shows that they're, shall we say, stationary out on circuit, perhaps upside down, perhaps on fire. And the blue flashing light means that they're coming up to be laps. But yes, you can see that.
No, that's actually
was it pit out?
Actually pit in or pit out.
Pit in and pit out. There we go. I remember now. It's been a while since I had a look at the timing screen. But yes, that is how it is. And you can follow the timing along as well at timing.gtr24h.org.
Yeah, and all the information is on the front page of the website. At the very top, you've got the live timing. You've got, of course, the new GTR24H TV channel. You've got where we actually do 24-hour reruns of all of our races, going all the way back to the 2019 EEWC as well is coming up now. The one that you co-hosted, Neil.
Yes.
Yeah. That's coming up as well.
Where I almost fell off the stage in the chair. Yep, I remember that. that was incredibly early in the morning. By my defence, that was something like 2 a.m. and I was incredibly tired at that point.
Very, very elegant. Anyway, we had a good time, but I'm in the middle of kind of video editing that and cutting that up into 1 hour pieces, so we can have a proper rerun of that as well. We're doing all the team interviews, as many as we can possibly gather, because you might not know, but at GTR24H it is actually all about the teams. So we're really trying to promote the teams as much as we possibly can, which means a lot of interviews and a lot of content on the teams as much as we can possibly do. I don't remember that I've ever seen a Silverstone server being this having this many drivers on. There's now 47 cars, and that's 47 active cars on track right now. They're actually starting to double stack the pit garages, so you can actually see now that I think that's as soon as it gets above the 45 mark, it starts to double stack the cars in the garage. So some of the teams might find that there's another car in front of them in the garage right now, which is it's turning out to be quite a Nürburgring thing.
Yes, of course. If I remember correctly, in Nürburgring 24, they share 5 cars to a garage or something like that? 4 or 5?
Usually at least about 3.
Yes, and of course you've got 2, but it can be also think, for example, the Manta Foxtail can be in the same garage as a GT3 car, which can be quite interesting sometimes. But yes, you just got to share who you're with, and indeed our teams are having to start to cope with that now, and you can still see the top times at the moment in each class are back to when the track was dry a few hours ago, and perhaps the slower times that you can see at the moment is the more representative wet times out on track at the moment. For example, let's have a look. You've got Christopher Kynick in the number 22 Mugen LMP2 car, their best lap of 55.5. That's kind of what you're expecting in the wet in with the LMP2s. Henry Sinek, that's Yuri Toman just behind the 117 Vargas Sim Racing car, a 55.8. Chris Gonzalez in the 334 Fair Racing Team car, 56.1. So that's really sort of times you're expecting in the wet with these LMP2 cars.
Yeah, 56.1 for Chris Gonzalez in the Fair Racing Team actually looks like that is the current best time for LMP2s, and that's not half bad. There's like, we got Jerry Tolman from Vargas Sim Racing.
Yes.
Did a 54.3. Only car faster than him is the Mugen Sim Racing, which put up their best time, as you said, during the dry running before the official practice session actually went live or went on air. So 47's in the dry, 54.3 in the wets, and I believe we're starting to see a proper dry line form right now. Of course, that won't help you much if you're having to overtake slower cars, but I think the times are now going to be set on slick tires, because even if you look at the spray from the cars, as long as they're in the racing line, there's very, very little spray behind the cars, and that's usually an indicator that it's about time to get on the slick tires.
Yes, and the crossover point will be something that all of these teams will need to test quite thoroughly. Not only the wet to dry crossover point, like they might be approaching, but also the dry to wet crossover point as well, because getting those times correct may be absolutely crucial on Saturday, because you do not want to be caught out on the wrong tyre. I mean, a wet tyre in dry conditions isn't too bad. You really want to pit as soon as possible, but a dry tyre in wet conditions can spell disaster.
It actually goes both ways. I think the not changing to the dry tyres when it's possible will be the difference. For the LMP2s, it will be the difference between what we're seeing now from Jerry Tolman with the 54s, and then the wet tyres will be about 57, something like that. So you're very, very quickly throwing away maybe 3 seconds a lap just by not being on the dry tyres when it's possible. Then again, it is very dangerous to be on the slicks when it's wet offline, because especially in the hypercars and the LMP2 cars, you're going to have to go offline. You cannot race all around the track in the racing line.
Yes, and that you could just see, as you were saying, that dry line just opening up ever so slightly. The lighter patches on the circuit, obviously indicating the dry line. And really, in my experience, you really want that dry line to maybe be about 1.5 car widths wide. It's generally a good idea is when you should start thinking of changing to those dry tyres.
As we just saw Max Spooner have a bit of an incident. I think it's rewinding now to show Sultan Boda here having a misfortune in the Mugen LMP2 as well. Yeah, he lost control as well. There's a lot of people now trying out limits, and certainly if I was driving now, I would be on the slick tires now and trying to see how dry does it need to be, and how much of a line does it need to be. Like even Joseph Frederick Sudo here in the Omicron Racing Team is testing out dry tires. So yeah, it's the same thing that I would do. Like, get that knowledge and write the notes in the book. Okay, yes, this is how dry it needs to be before we go to the slicks.
Yes, just having a look at Yeri Toman is currently on screen coming through the first two cars, and there is Christopher Chenek, the 22 Mugen car, as you were speaking about before, coming across the old start-finish line. And look at all these cars out on the circuit. It really is just like a parade most of the time. Some lovely slow motion there of Daniel Visna.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of pictures right now from cars either setting spectacular sector times or it's cars. Oh, by the way, the live timing screen was just flashing up in green for the leading Omicron car. I am pretty sure that means that he's requested a pit stop. So he'll be going into pit lane the next time he crosses. He crosses that, I think. I believe so, at least. I programmed it, and I can't even remember how I set it up. I'm sorry.
It's fine. You've still got another 24 hours until qualifying for you to maybe go into the code and find out what it is.
Whatever I did to make it flash up green, but I'm pretty sure it's the pit stop requested option. By the way, now we're talking about coding. On the website, there's actually a radio button as well. That button will take you, one of the radio ones will take you to the audio of this live broadcast so that, you know, people can hear it as a web radio as well. So if you can't sit and watch your screen or have to go for a drive or whatever, you can put that on your phone. And then the other one takes you to a page with all the radio channels for the sim racing teams. And as Ewan always said, we have to warn against profane language, because sometimes drivers don't really mind their language when they get in the heat of the battle. So it comes with a disclaimer there. You could hear some words that are not meant for sore ears, as could probably phrase that. But there's the option to listen in on the radio channels of all the teams. So if you're a fan of a particular team, go on, give it a look, give it a try. There's certainly information to be had. We did put on in the live stream, and I hope to be able to do that as well during the race. During practice and qualifying, it's not really that interesting, but we did last race at Indianapolis, we did put on the radio communications from Omicron and Pinsim Drills when they were having the epic battle when Pinsim was coming back to take the lead, and that was actually quite interesting to hear that together with the commentary. So I think that made for some very exciting broadcasting of sim racing.
Yes, it's going to be very, very good. And you know, they do that quite often. For example, DTM, they often did that. Of course, the famous incident at Spielberg was accidentally broadcast. Well, I would say accidentally broadcast live over the world feed, but I suppose you could schlag him raus. Yeah, push him out, and then he's got punted at turn 4. I wonder where that could have come from.
Well, the team should know. Like race control is usually monitoring all the channels and all the communication as well, because it's just an easy way to know if something illegal is going on.
As having a look now at Gert Nielsen in the 188 Teleferningen. There we go. If I could read. In the GT3, going very wide at the final corner just before coming across the start finish line at 2:14.2. Currently the fast time for Gert Nielsen.
Oh, and up in LMP2, it's Daniel Wisner now with the fastest LMP2 time in the wets. That's still only surpassed by David Kolexai in the Mutant Sim Racing number 22. As we speak of him, he's on the stream here doing a nice almost 360. That's I would say about 100 and maybe 210 degrees turn around.
As I have a look at number 89, Patrick Silvassi. There we go. Let's guess it's that. The number 80 Omicron sim racing car, number 1 in hypercars, and indeed number 1 overall at the moment, just coming down the straight towards Maggots and Beckett's. Of course, hypercar, the fastest of the four classes we have here in the EEWC. Of course, you go hypercar, LMP2, GTE, and then GT3.
Yeah, and from looking at the timing screens here, I must say that the Varga Sim Racing team and the Fair Racing team right now, they are actually putting everyone else to shame, because those guys are up from all the other LMP2 cars by nearly a second. As that's not a bowler, he just did a 52.8, so that would have definitely been on dry tires. So they're testing it now to see if it'll work, and being 2 seconds faster than the provisional second place, I would say, which is actually third, but yeah, dry weather times. I would say that it works out on slick tires now.
Yeah, and those times are just coming further down and down. As we will see, as the track seems to dry up, and again we might see a few more spins in the future as these teams are really trying to push their limits and see what the limits are in these changeable conditions. And these conditions they're probably going to have to deal with in 2 days' time at Silverstone, beginning at midday Central European time. Of course, Central European time being best time, and you can change. See what your time zone is from that. It's 11 a.m. GMT, so you can roughly guess what time the race begins from that.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we should have some kind of clock, or I don't know. I'm getting mixed feelings about this since sandbagging comes to mind.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Martin Hemmingsen in the Pinson Drillers number 10 hypercar. What is he doing lapping in the 54s as well?
That's a good point. As we now have a new person to have an interview with Tone Loa from the number 15 Juices Motorsport. That's their LMP2 entry. Last time out at Indianapolis, they finished 9th and got a couple of points, and of course that extra point for finishing. So Tom, thank you for joining us and tell us about how your race was last time out at Indianapolis.
I think it was a good race. We were on a pace, at least in the first few hours. Then we made a mistake, or I made a mistake, and crashed the car. And then, we went backwards after that.
So you're coming into this race here at Silverstone, just having a look where you are in the timing standings. If we can find you again. Oh, the internet doesn't like me. You're currently 13th overall. Your fast time of a 55.5 at the moment for yourself in that number 15 car. What is your race pace looking like? And of course, what is your qualified pace looking like?
We are on a pace for sure. We have seen the time is not representative because the times are going down so massively right now. But we are looking with everyone on the track. We are looking good, I think. But Friday is going to be difficult for sure with the rain going up and down, so we can't really predict what the race is.
And of course, LMP2 is one of the middle classes we have here. What is it like? What sort of things do you have to keep in mind when you're both lapping the GTE cars, but also being lapped by the hypercars?
Right now on the circuit, it's not really that difficult, but especially with the rain, because the hypercars are not much faster than us right now. But it's more you need to look in front of you and in the mirrors. Especially when you have Kuchiv on, it's getting a bit better, but still you need to really look out for it.
And what have the number 15 car written up, shall we say, a timetable or a game plan for both tomorrow and Saturday? Or are you just going to all be there at the same time and just see what the weather is going to do, see what sort of state your car is in, and just kind of decide what the order is going to be as the race goes on?
Yeah, we're not having a plan right now. Just going to drive. and see where we end up. And in qualifying, I think we will do like everyone will do a bit and see who gets fastest.
So, yes, Peter, do you have any questions?
I'm not sure that I do. I was checking out the timing sheets and, right now the track is developing hugely. You can see that by the development in the lap times right now. LMP2s are getting faster. But actually, if you look down in the timing, fastest GTE car is the 177 ID SimSport car. That's Marcus Ster, who's got that on an overall 23rd place. That's a 59.0, and I believe that's actually a pretty good time for the wets. It's actually quite a bit ahead of the nearest GTE car, which is the WSR iZone Performance number 51. So what do we have? GT3. We've actually also got the 188 Teletraining with Michael Slot at the wheel right now, doing pretty good. Lots of GTE drivers, lots of GT3 drivers further down in the field, obviously not feeling it with the weather. Surprising, one of the Lexi Musin, one of the Unison Racing guys, actually not doing that well, all the way down in 37th place. Timing's acting up a bit on the timing page now because we got a lot of drivers coming in, going out, a lot of stuff happening. As I said, track's developing hugely. We've got a lot of drivers joining in and coming out, so plenty of action on track right now.
Yes, as we are looking at that action on track, got to say thank you for to Toynla from that number 15 car, and hope all goes well for your for your team both tomorrow and on Saturday.
Oh, thank you. We'll see how we do.
All the best to you guys.
And we are now halfway through this, I would say, official practice session. I'm not sure if that's exactly the correct term, but this practice session, at least, we've got to thank our main partners for this race. Of course, Global Flicks and FilmVolt Limited.
Sorry. That was Sebastian Hove coming in and actually crashing with his own teammate at the very start of the pit lane entrance. Oh, sorry.
please don't make me jump like that.
Sorry for that interruption. That was...
Anyway, thank you to our main sponsors, Global Flicks and FilmVolt Limited. And if it's possible, we may go to a short commercial break just now.
Yeah, we'll do, and sorry about the choppiness in the intro. We'll fix it for tomorrow. But yeah, we'll be right back after this.
The 2021 Endurance E-Racing World Championship Round 2 FilmVolt 12 Hours of Silverstone is brought to you in partnership with ESR Esports Network, Leap Gaming, SimLab, Motorvision.tv, Global Flicks, Racing for Green, and AMD Ryzen Radeon.
Hello guys, welcome back to this official practice session broadcast from the Silverstone circuit, host of this week's coming FilmVolt 12 Hours of Sebring for the Endurance E-Racing World Championship. I'm here, your producer and commentary, Peter Moncomb. I'm joined by Neil Peatley.
You can do everything, Peter.
Yeah.
Time. Yes.
I'm not that good with the commentary when there's stuff that I have to keep track of. I'm usually just looking at the screens and looking at timing to see if we got interesting stuff going on.
Yes, and that interesting stuff at the moment is David Kaluxai, and that number 22 Mugen Sim Racing Team, currently first overall in that LMP2, but mainly because that was the dry times that we were talking about earlier. The fastest of the wet-ish times at the moment, but in terms of LMP2s, belongs to Martin Murgele in the number 95 DEAC Hackers car, a 51.8. But that 51.8 is a good 4 seconds faster from what we even saw 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, like we were talking about in the previous, or just as I rudely kind of ended or interrupted the last interview, a lot of stuff is going on track now, and the lap times are improving quite a lot. We're seeing some guys that we're used to seeing further down in the field suddenly heading the various classes, especially the Gte and Gt3 classes seem to be almost turned upside down, or some people have just done their due diligence and really already have the perfect wet race setup, because they knew that February, the Silverstone, gotta be a wet one. So maybe just prepare it will be safer to just prepare a wet race setup for this one than trying anything else. So maybe those guys, they just have it dialed in.
Yeah, generally what you want to do when changing a wet, when going from a dry to a wet setup, you want to crank up the rear wing and just also make the front springs a little bit stiffer as well to try and induce some understeer into the car. That's the two main things you really want to change when you begin to make a wet setup.
There we go, Unison Racing having some kind of issue coming out of the pit lane, joining the track. Oh no, that was coming into the pit lane, actually spinning around and going straight into the number 13 garage. Luckily they didn't have a car parked in there, so the space was free, but that was sort of like an Ace Ventura parking thing, like a glove.
Not only do we have endurance racing, we also have stunt driving as well here at the EEWC.
Apparently, but if you come from a dry line out on track and you then roll into the pit entrance and it's just, completely soaked, you're in for a surprise, especially if you're on the slick tires. So that good thing to have that surprise now. Can I say again the Fair Racing team, when looking at the names showing up here, like looking at the top 10 LMP2 drivers, I'm spotting, is that 3 of the Fair Racing team drivers? They are impressive, I must say.
Yes, Chris Gonzalez, Tony Janssen, and Paul Holt currently in, I make that 8th, 9th, and 12th overall, respectively. So they're looking quite strong. Are the number 3-3-4 for the race? Number 3-3-4, of course, finished on the podium last time at Indianapolis. 3rd place, 15 points, plus, of course, the finishing bonus point as well.
And they get angry every time the other commentary guys mention how surprised they are at their pace. So we're not surprised anymore.
No.
They do have a really, really good pace in that car, those 5 guys, and it seems like they're sort of a very experienced crew, especially being experienced in the way of having driven a lot together and easily, adjusting to the same setup, because that's like racing the same setup, 5 guys in a car in the dry is one thing, but racing with the same setup in the wets is a completely different thing. like the tendency for a driver to want a slightly oversteering car or understeering car just gets sort of, yeah, it's all turned up to volume 100 in the wets instead of in the regular dry racing.
Yes, and of course, you may want to have a few more drivers, to make sure that all your drivers are fresh, to make sure that they are all at their peak performance, if you like. But of course, the more drivers you have, the more differences in driving style and setup preference you're going to have as well. So that might make it slightly more difficult, depending on the number of drivers you have.
Certainly, but for the 24-hour race, you do need at least those 3 drivers. So Alvaro Inchausti proved us wrong last year by having his 2 teammates never show up and actually doing an entire 24-hour race by himself and coming home in 3rd place in the GT3 class, which was that's inhuman.
Yeah.
That's inhuman. I don't have any words to describe that except that's not normal. I believe we've got another interview with Icon. It is someone who doesn't have a proper
TeamSpeak user.
Someone who doesn't have a proper username. But I'll say one thing: if you go to the live timing sheets, you'll find icons by the team names. You'll find a little Facebook icon or Twitch icon, or maybe sort of like a small house, or like the YouTube play icon. That's actually links for the various pages, profiles, and channels of that particular team. So if you want to go and read up on what the say the Apostino Force Polonia team has been doing, you can go and visit that and go and have a look at their website. So that's an easy way to find more info on the teams and find out where to follow these teams and the news coming for them.
Yes, and of course, it is kind of all about the teams here at EEWC, and we now have another interview. This time is Callum Wilson from the number 404 Glam Racing team car. Last time out at Indianapolis, 4th position in the GT3 class. And
hello, can you hear me okay?
There we go. Hello,
sorry?
Yes, I can hear you now.
It's good when I'm not on mute, but how are you all doing? How is everyone?
I think, given the circumstance with the COVID and everything, we're doing just okay. We're sim racing, so that's actually the best thing happening, at least for my perspective, for the last for the last month or so. How about you, buddy?
Good, yeah, good. Thank you. It's nice to be here. It's my first, what I'd call, proper league. I've done a lot of casual stuff on Tuesday nights, after work and stuff, but this feels pretty big time in comparison, so enjoying it. Indianapolis, my first race was the Le Mans last season. And I did Indianapolis, obviously, last month. Wasn't too bad. I had a small little lag spike, which kind of ruined the race for us, really. After that, it was about 10 hours of just being on the back foot and trying to catch up, but we did get back from 5th to 4th. So, yeah, just enjoyed it. Good to be here. Trying to get some pace in the rain. But, yeah, all good fun.
Yes, and this pace in the rain, well, to be honest, should be used to it being Silverstone in February.
Yeah, I don't live too far away from it, actually. About half an hour car journey, and I'll be at Silverstone, and it's very wet here, and it's very wet at the track, so, yeah, used to it, exactly.
You can just look out the window and tell everyone else what the weather's going to be. Done. Fantastic.
I've already that's the plan.
That's all you need. That's all you need. But yes, how is your planning and setup going, if you like, for this weekend? Of course, the weather is going to play a big factor.
It is. I think we spent all week really trying to get something good for the dry, and I think we're there now. And then I took it out in the wet this evening, and it feels very, very different, as you'd expect. Yeah. And I guess it's now just trying to find that compromise between good dry, good wet setup, because I'm sure it will rain in the race and in quali. it's just finding that kind of compromise. The last thing you want is it to be totally dry and you're a sitting duck because you got too much downforce on because of the rain that you're expecting, or just where's that in between. And we got there with the dry because it took us a long time to find something we were all happy with in the dry. And with the team, obviously we've all got slightly different driving styles, so just trying to find a setup to suit us all as a group is difficult enough, and then when you think about the weather as well, that's what makes it an even bigger challenge. But that's part of the fun, isn't it? So it's all right. It's all right. We're getting there. I think we're heading in the right direction. More time in the car, the better, really.
I would have to say you're in one of the more difficult GT3 cars. I've tried. Yeah. I would call it steering happy.
Steering happy, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. Like, it's quite tail happy, especially like at high speed stuff, there's a lot of that around here. But if we can't accept the challenge, why are we here? It's good fun. It's a nice little car once you get to grips with it.
Yeah, certainly the times I've driven it, did a 12-hour race at Spa in it, and it's like for the source, the hairpin bust up, it's really good because you can just throw it through the corners. Yeah. But coming down the back straight and going through the fast Lecombes and the faster Poufong is not good. It's very, very tricky to get it set up properly to do those kind of corners, and obviously you got a lot of that here on Silverstone with the fast sweeping corners.
And did you win?
So no, certainly not.
Oh, that doesn't bode well, does it?
No. I've got to be racing either a Corvette or something mid-engine if I had to win anything. But it was just a challenge. But I was just wondering if you had the same experience. But I can hear already that it's pretty much the same.
Yeah. It certainly feels like that. In some corners, it's better than others. If anything, we started off being really good in the slow speed, and not so good in the high speed. And now we've kind of gone the other way. Really good in high speed, but it's a bit of a fight in the slow speed. So we're getting there. I think it's all good fun, just trying to work it out, and fingers crossed it'll be all right for the race.
And very sensitive to damper changes as well. So I'm curious to know how you're finding it when touching the curbs in the wet like now.
It's okay. I mean, the curbs don't feel so much of a problem. I think where I'm struggling is when faster cars go by and you have to maybe go offline. So just before this interview, I was doing a little bit of testing on slicks, just trying to find where that crossover point is. And if you keep it on the dry line on slicks, it's just about right if you're getting 2:08 lap times in the GT3. But if a LMP comes past or a hypercar and you just got to go ever so slightly offline, you've got no grip at all. And before you know it, you're on opposite lock trying to stop it going round. So yeah, the curbs and stuff feel okay actually, as long as you don't go too wide. It's more other cars and how you behave around them, and just trying not to lose as much time as possible as they go past you in the wet, really.
But looking at your teammates, Alexander van der Voort, Henrik Hoyer, very experienced guys. So you're definitely in good hands. I've raced with Henrik as well. I think from when was that? That was in the English Gamerscript GTR2 series back in the day. Yeah, that's more than a decade ago. Yeah, but he's. I think he would agree, and I can say that without him taking any offense. But he's not one of the fastest guys, but he is definitely one of the stable guys. Like for endurance racing like this, he can just do lap on lap on lap on lap. So yeah, it's especially in the GT3 classes, what it comes down to is avoiding incidents, and we saw that at Indianapolis as well, and I think also that benefited you guys. I can't remember what place you were on when we came to the last half an hour, but there was a lot of guys in front of you having issues as well.
Yeah, I think we actually came quite close to a podium. I think we were 5th for a long time after the whole lag spike we had, which took us out of any kind of contention. And then we saw just chaos going on in front. I was in the car for the last 2.5 hours, I think. And all you could see was the positions changing and cars going back into the pits, and you know it pops up on R Factor to say so and so has left the race, and you think, well, hang on a minute, they're a couple of places ahead of us. Where does that leave us? So that's the thing about sim racing. You kind of have to look for has someone disconnected rather than has someone run out of fuel or. But yeah, right, that last hour or so, you couldn't really call it. So we were happy to get another place out of it because we felt like we were resigned to 5th place for the whole race, really. So to get one extra space was quite nice.
Yeah, looking at it afterwards, GT3 and LMP2, if it wasn't for Varga just steaming away in LMP2, those were definitely the two most contested classes. It was just like, out of the top 10, you couldn't tell which car was going to end up on the podium. So yeah,
but that's great.
Really looking forward to Saturday and the race, because I think we could have. Oh, that is Alan Hansen coming back on track, but he actually was quite predictable and went straight back into the racing line. But I didn't see which driver that was from, either the 22 or 333 car that rear-ended him. Well, we can be glad it's just sim racing, because if that was in real life, that would have been two cars not able to race on Saturday.
Yeah, not ideal.
Do you have any further questions, Neil?
Yeah, so what is the 404's plan for this weekend? What position are you aiming for? You're 4th last time out. I presume a podium's on the cards.
I hope so. I think I'd really like a podium. We were quietly, before the whole lag incident happened, I think we were looking like we could actually contend for the win. We had really good pace. We were keeping up with the cars around us. I think we started 5th and was up to 2nd. And we were catching the leader at the time, and then I got in the car, pace was good, internet did whatever it did, lost about 2 seconds, and then I was upside down on the banking. So hopefully not that, but that did give us some hope that, minus that small little lag spike, we could have really contended. So I think we have to look for a podium. I'll be really happy with the podium. I think 2nd race in a season, a podium, 4th place in the podium would be a good start. So yeah, just see how we get on. But like you say, it's endurance racing. The less mistakes, the better. Just keep it on the track, avoid incidents, avoid faster cars, trying to get the way past, and yeah, hope for a podium. I'd like a podium. I'd be happy with that.
Well, I would certainly like to see Glam Racing on the podium as well. I think you guys deserve a good result. So yeah, looking really forward to that also, because of course Henrik, a personal friend of mine, is driving the car. So I always like to see him on the podium.
Yeah, that'd be great. Fingers crossed.
Thank you for joining us, Callum, and I suppose we should let you go back to the rest of your team for some practicing.
No worries. Thanks, guys. I will keep an eye on the broadcast throughout the rest of the weekend when I'm not driving. But yeah, good stuff. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Come back anytime you have words for us.
I might just do that. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Neil, I want to hear a fun fact about the 404 car as well.
Yes, please.
They've actually got their own Lena Gade in Henrik's wife Maria, who's doing race engineering for them.
Fantastic. Doing the race engineering just takes all the pressure off of the drivers so they can just focus on the driving.
Yeah, she's always been really good with cookies, chips, and tips.
Fantastic. It's what you need to fuel an entire racing team. Cookies, chips, tips. Fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, that was nice to hear from Callum. I haven't talked to Callum before, so it was nice to meet him as well. So now I actually have spoken, I think, to the entire 4 Glam Racing crew. So yeah, it was nice to get acquainted.
Så yes, if anyone else wants to come up for an interview either in English eller på svenska. Det har varit lite tid sedan den sista gången jag pratade det, så jag kanske glömde lite. But there we go. Or
I didn't even understand that, and I'm Danish. I'm supposed to really understand that, but or
whatever you call you speak Danish or troll, same thing really. You can do that as well, but looking on the circuit, at least at the timing, once I find the correct tab, is still David Koloksai out in front, mainly because of that fasting. But have a look at that Henry Sinek now, number 10 Drillers eSport car, that hypercar, of course. So we're kind of starting to see maybe the crossover time between at least dry times in the LMP2s and the slightly damp times in the hypercar, and really it's like what Callum was just saying a couple of minutes ago. The hypercars and the LMP2s are kind of equal in terms of wet. In the wet, it's only really when it starts to dry up and it comes to the dry that the hypercars really start to pull ahead of the LMP2s.
It's because I don't remember now, but wasn't the hypercars also supposed to have like narrower tires than the LMP ones?
Oh, that's a good question. It might
maybe
be,
the reason they're nearly equally fast in the wet is because the hypercar is running almost the same tires and the speed isn't high enough to use the downforce.
Yes, and of course, that really is where the hypercars, of course, have a little bit more downforce and a little bit more power. They're like LMP2 plus, if you like, in terms of both of them. They're better in both of those departments, but you can't really use that power. You can't really use that power unless you can actually get the power down in dry conditions. The same goes for the downforce. You can't really, when it comes to that downforce and making most use of it, the real limit is the lateral grip of the tires.
Yeah, and one other thing I was noticing in the, because there was a recent video posted in the, I think I saw it on the FIAWC Facebook page. It was sort of a profile video for the hypercar class, and definitely very clearly visible is that the hypercars are a lot longer in wheelbase than the LMP ones used to be. So they'll be a lot more stable at high speeds. I don't know the exact reason why they would want to make them have a longer wheelbase, but they most certainly do have. They're wider as well. Oh, the rain is picking up.
Yeah,
it's now up to 2 millimeters per hour. I'm not sure that data is 100% correct, but that is the way that you would have like a meteorologist describe how much is raining. It's by millimeters per hour.
Yes.
Which is it's proper rain now. It's not just a light drizzle. Oh, whoa! As Roy Reese is having quite. What was that? That was. What do you call a crash like that when a car rotates around like its own horizontal axis like that? Is cartwheeling or?
Yeah, I'd go for that. I think horrific is also how you describe that crash. It's also that. But yes, a rather spectacular incident there.
Look at the reaction from pit lane as we see that crash. The immediate reaction from pit lane is 5 cars coming out of pit lane saying, "Oh, that looks fun. We got to have some of that."
Is racing really any fun unless you're upside down and on fire? Especially sim racing. That is the ultimate goal. As having a look with an hour-ish left in this official qualifying practice session, as you say. I was just having a look. At the.
We are having some I'm sorry, but we're having some spectacular crashes right now. I'm hoping this autocam picks up on this one. Yeah, just check this. Check this one out. 166. It's two of the ID Sim Sport cars doing sort of a Porsche. I think that's a sort of a mating ritual between Porsche cars.
Amazing.
Very, very close and very embracing, and then forcing its will upon the one. Is that the 188? Yeah. Up against the guardrails.
And this is how a GT4 car is made.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yes, quite a sizable instant there coming through Woodcote onto the old start-finish straight for the two Porsches. You can just saw a little yellow flash. I think that might have actually been Matthias Blom from the number 13 Danish Racing League car having a little bit of an off somewhere. And look at that, 13th place overall is someone called Nick Newcomb. I haven't heard of him before.
Yeah, there's if you want to hear more of that, of course, don't do it now, but when we're done here in a few minutes time, actually, time flies. There's an interview with Nick Newcomb on the whole Deuces Motorsports Club situation at Indianapolis, because they did not have the best of luck, but there's a lot of explanations and stuff like that, interesting information in that as well. So if you're a fan of the Deuces Motorsports Club, go check out the interview on our YouTube channel with Nick Newcomb. You can always find any GTR24H media on your social media of choice /GTR24H. So of course on YouTube it's just youtube.com/GTR24H.
Yes, as we're coming into the final hour, as we were saying, and having in terms of the GT field, actually at the moment, that 188 Telefellingen of Michael Slot in the GT3 is currently the best of all of the GT cars, with a 2-minute 1.7 the current fastest lap. But I think that might have been done in a slightly drier condition, because the last lap was a 2:11, but I think that might have just been an off lap. The fastest GTE at the moment is Jose Belengar in the number 51 WOSR iZone Performance car. Excuse me. Help if I swallowed before I started speaking. With a 2-minute 3.5 at the moment. And those are the leaders at the moment in the two respective GT classes.
Yeah, I was looking fun thing, because up at the Maggots and Beckett's corners, chapel coming down into the start of the hangar straight, it is really raining a lot now, but it's raining a lot less down here at the start finish straight. So either weather is rolling in now, or it's going away. So either it'll be raining more or it'll start to be raining less, but at least for now it looks like, yeah, Maggots, Beckett's, Chapel, where we're looking at David Colossal right now, it is definitely raining. You can see it clearly on the camera down the hangar straight. Loads of rain in the TV images, and then as you get down to the stadium bit at the start finish straight, it gets a little bit less rainy.
Yes, the start-finish straight isn't that bad, but of course coming straight down the Wellington Straight is really what you expect
was Henry Sinek having a moment in Beckett's. I mean, if you go off at sort of the exit of Maggots coming into Beckett's, that is where you're gonna, if you want to see race-ending crashes, that's where you gotta look, because if you come up off there's no guarantee that you're gonna, even with the large runoff areas, there's no guarantee that the car's gonna stop before you hit the barrier.
Yes, and that barrier, surprisingly, that barrier comes very quickly at 240 kilometers an hour when you're barreling towards it at full throttle like you are sometimes. But yes, the rain definitely is starting to come down again. And of course, Silverstone, an old airfield, and one of the runways essentially directly down the Wellington Straight. That's essentially been just built over one of the runways. And I must tell you, in a very cold April, when watching the WEC and sitting in the grandstand at the end of the Wellington Straight, well, I should say in front of Maggots and Beckett's, which is directly opposite the Wellington Straight, it can get very, very cold.
Yeah. Safety car on track as well. I think we have one of the safety car drivers now out testing the grip levels of the safety car in the wets, because I think more people right now in race control are starting to realize that the start of the race might be wet, so it might be a good idea to have the safety car driver know the limits of the good old Corvette C6R safety car. It's a bit of a machine, so that would probably be a wise choice. But speaking of airfields, a quiz for you, Neil.
Oh no!
How many of the tracks on the 2021 Endurance E-Racing World Championship calendar are actually on old airfields or Air Force bases?
Well, of course, we're going to we were at Indianapolis, Silverstone here, and next month we're going to Sebring. In June we're going to the Nürburgring, in August to Spa, and then of course in October to Le Mans. So I shall make that obviously Sebring, one of the most famous circuits in the world. That is on an airfield, and as far as I'm aware, the Nürburgring, well, I've been to the Nürburgring, I can tell you can have fun trying to land a plane on that. and Spa, Le Mans might have been at some point as well, maybe, but I'm not sure.
There's actually Le Mans, if right on the outside of the track at the spectator stands at the start-finish straight, just on the opposite side of the road going by. Okay. Out there is actually the Le Mans airfield. That doesn't make it like an airfield as such as part of the track, but you are right, it's Silverstone and Sebring.
Yes, Sebring. Oh, I'm so looking forward to Sebring with all of those bumps coming to sunset as well. Oh.
Yeah, that's going to be a show as well. But I think we'll have a very, very good race here on Saturday as well. I was thinking that as we see a safety car going backwards down the start-finish straight, I don't know what that practice is like. I don't know what the purpose is of that, but I think he was lining up to do a J-turn to get out of the way as fast as possible and waiting for traffic to drive by.
Yeah.
No, he's still... Yeah, there goes the J-turn. Yeah, okay. It's just trying to get out of the way of all the other cars.
This is what we call Mr. Safety Car in some other clubs that I've been part of. Mainly because quite often you get an automated safety car, and sometimes it can do some very fun things. Like one time I was racing at Hockenheim, and it decided to phase through the pit wall at turn 1 and take everyone out at the beginning of a rolling start race. That was quite fun, but that's Mr. Safety Car. But yes.
Can I say that is exactly why we don't use the automated safety car and actually have a real person join in driving in the actual safety car. That and having issues with running the batch scripts for setting the starting order. So what we do for the start of the race is actually having the safety car run quite slowly on the pit limiter at the beginning, and then calling out the names of the teams so they can pick up the proper position behind the safety car. And then at tracks like Le Mans, you only need 1 lap. Here at Silverstone, you maybe need 2. I think at Indianapolis, we needed 3 laps to set it up properly. So yeah, just to make sure that everything is started smoothly and in good order. That's how we choose to do it. And it may sound stupid to call forward the name, but hey, if it works, it's not really stupid. Oh, Henry Sinek did best lap now. Or did he? Or did the 22 Mutant Sim Racing just leave this? Yeah, he left. He finally decided that he had enough of sitting on pole position and left the server.
Oh, yes, I had enough of winning. Let's go somewhere else.
Yeah. Who we got to look for now? It's still the. We got Ramada Motorsport now, showing good pace in the 51s in LMP2. GTE, Jose Berenger, 51, WSR, WOSR, ISO Performance. Come on, I can do this. Then we've got a very good time for Pre-Big Salts in the 41 Mugen GT3 McLaren. 22 laps on that car, 29 for Jose Berenger. DIS 45 sitting in third place in GTE. Michael Bernberg from the 188 car. These are drivers I think that we didn't get to see at Indianapolis for the ID SimSport team. I believe it's the 166, from ID SimSport. I believe that is the strongest ID SimSport car. They've got quite some drivers in that car when it comes to names in Danish sim racing. What have we got going on otherwise? 128 Satellite Racing, definitely a car that we would expect to see at the sharp end of the field in GTE as well. Hasn't put up a very good lap time yet with a 208.234. I don't know. 10 o'clock here in Denmark, and the official practice live stream session was actually supposed to stop at 10, so we're a bit late now. But what I was going to ask you, Niels, do you know what time it is in the States right now?
It depends where you are in the States.
Well, it used to be about 8 hours difference between Denmark, so late afternoon, right?
I'm just trying to remember for Daytona 24 last weekend. It was supposed to begin at 3:40 and begin at 9:40 here. So it's 6 hours for the East Coast, and it'll be 8 for the West.
Yeah. So 6 hours
makes it 4.
Yeah. So it's just early. Just coming home from work. You know, early.
Yes.
Evening.
Yes.
Okay, so that might be why we're not seeing a lot of the satellite racing guys being. I think it's an entirely American team. I could find the 128 on the stream, and I can remember. Also, if you don't remember any of the drivers sitting out there as a fan, the really reasonable thing to do is to go to gtr24h.org/spotter guide, because then you will be presented with all the needed information that you would need. That spotter guide is meant to be printed, so you can print it on A4. Just remember to turn on in your browser printer settings. You need to turn on background graphics. Also, if you want it looking really nice, turn off the automatic generated header and footer with the annoying URLs in it. So that it looks proper. You can have it as a PDF or printed on A4 paper is what it's designed for. There's a bit of information on what goes on with all the different icons and stuff in live timing. There's a track map for Silverstone as well, so you know where the different corners are. There might be some extra information coming up on that tomorrow. I was trying to get the point standings ready to show on stream tonight as well. Obviously haven't made that, but we'll have it ready for tomorrow. I think point standings will be in the spotter guide as well. Giuseppe Di Fuco Musto, GT Esport, 18 laps and still 2:11 only. So sandbagging comes into mind here as well. Are you spotting anything interesting here, Neil?
Interesting in terms of what we'll see. Paul Holtz had an off somewhere because his name is flashing yellow in the middle sector. If I remember correctly, the middle sector is somewhere between the Wellington Straight and the Hanger Street, isn't it? I think that's the second sector. Or is it before the S is the second sector line? I can't quite remember.
I don't remember either. I'm trying to go to the YouTube link that Fair Racing have on their team here, but it's reporting like no link.
You're quite right, Neil.
That's Nick Newcomb.
Yeah. Sector 2, the middle sector is just on the exit down to Hanger Straight, and just after Wellington Straight, and then just as you exit onto Hanger.
Are the of course I should have checked myself, but are the actual sector lines on the track map in the spotter guide? I want to go see now because
there is there is a line you go over because one of the shorter circuits cuts across there.
Really, from this track map, no, sadly, the sector lines are not properly done on this particular track map. Well, that would have been nice to have. But maybe updated with those. Nick, how are you finding the track in the wet?
Greasy.
Yeah.
There's a dry line which you can use, but go slightly off, or whether it's by your own fruition or overtaking a car, and it's you just seem to understeer out as normal. But we've done a lot of good work tonight. The car's good. We're quite happy with it. Did some good laps, but the car was turning that well. He got some cut tracks, so lost his time once he was 4 seconds up. So we've got the pace there, so it's good. The lads are ready for tomorrow night. And
so
Craig's
you got it service. You got it figured out with the crossover between the wets and the slick tires now.
Yeah,
great.
Slick dry and slick to inters and then inters to wet, and the configuration of the car as well. So we did it all tonight. Did a lot this afternoon.
And you were running slick tires here just now.
We were running slicks earlier on.
Yeah.
Obviously, it started to rain again, so we've gone back to sort of like the wet configuration. But obviously, we've got to look at how wet the track is, online, offline, how much it's raining, how quickly the dry line's disappearing. But when we had lots of cars on earlier on, the dry line was quickly appearing.
Yeah.
So we kept an eye on the data and went with that. And so we know race-wise which way we'll go with the weather, because we know how the weather is. If anybody outside the UK doesn't know what's going on, there's storm warnings all over from tonight through till Friday, down the east coast into Midlands, down near Northamptonshire. So it's going to be wet.
Yeah.
It just depends on the degree and if it's actually going to start letting up the weather. But this is it for the weekend as far as the UK weather forecast is.
Yeah, sorry, John. You're going to have to repeat that. We had John coming in here. Just 2 seconds. I have to unmute you so you can go out on the stream, because otherwise we're talking to someone that's sort of a ghost. There you go, John. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, I pretty much just said for all the teams it would be a good idea to really use the weather forecast and really use your strategy around that. It's gonna be very wet during this weekend, and for the viewers, of course, it's gonna be quite entertaining, I guess. So the thing is, it's gonna be quite exciting race for the race control guys. There's gonna be a lot to do, and a lot of incidents as well, we imagine. So interesting weekend, I would say. So I'm actually looking very much forward to this. In my condition, it couldn't be better, but not for the teams, I guess.
No, and I saw you guys testing out the safety car in the wet conditions.
That was actually not me.
Oh, okay.
I don't know who it is.
Oh, okay. Because I obviously thought that would be a quite good idea to get someone that was going to drive that out and testing that in the wet conditions. Because once the teams have picked up behind the safety car, it is going to have to pick up pace. So yeah.
It's going to be very sleepy tomorrow, so yeah, and on Saturday as well, so yes, it's going to be a good idea. But it's not me going to drive that. That's going to be somebody from race control. I don't know who, but somebody will do that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and on another note, actually, during this weekend, hopefully we'll be able to do it. I'm going to work shitload.
I'll drive it.
No, it's actually something regarding that's going to happen, something quite interesting with Gte during this weekend, and we will announce something which I cannot reveal now because it's not completely done, but it will be, and it will be during the weekend. We will do that. I will come in much more into detail about that. So yeah. That's what I have to say, and everybody just need to tune in to get that news, and it's going to be broadcasted on Facebook and all our channels as well. So, yeah.
Can I say one thing that's good about having the teams just, announce or edit their lineups on the web page is that, of course, it's quite easy to do now, but it makes it so that we have no record if right now there's no log file on it, so we can't see if teams are actually changing drivers because, of course, all of this, the Endurance E-Racing World Championship is a team championship entirely, so there's no individual points for drivers. So obviously you could change drivers as much as you could possibly want. It's just locked to the same car for the entire season, but you can change drivers as much as you want. So we don't actually really know if someone hasn't kept track if some of the teams change drivers from one race to the next. So that could actually be driver changes now that we don't know of, right?
I hopefully hope that the teams will actually update their teams in the section so we know who's actually in the car. So definitely I would recommend the teams doing that. Also, if they have updated drivers, remember, which is really important, actually, to add pictures to the names and stuff like that so we can actually broadcast it on the live stream. So yeah.
That is one thing I'm seeing people getting a lot better at is keeping the driver images updated. Very favorable towards the people trying to follow the races, easily recognizing who's in the car and who's driving. So that's very nice.
Yeah. I don't have much to add today. We have a very busy schedule now, starting now for the upcoming race during the weekend. So I'm on the road, so I'm telling you, Peter, to actually close down the stream because I have stuff for you to do. So
as we were quite we are running we're running a bit late as well because we got started like 10 minutes later than we were supposed to, and then of course you came in here to with your announcements. But it's been a wonderful session. Thanks to all the teams and drivers that showed up in the green room and gave us all these wonderful interviews. That is mostly the purpose of the official practice session, is to allow the teams to introduce themselves and talk about their expectations for the coming race. So we're going to keep doing that. Also, of course, tomorrow during qualifying, we're open for interviews as well. Again, makes it all that much more interesting to follow the race when you get to hear the opinions of the drivers.
That's all for me today. I don't know what about you, Neil and Peter.
No, that's also it from me today. So yes, thank you all for watching, at least from my side. And of course, it is 7 p.m. tomorrow Central European time for qualifying.
Yes, so yeah, check out the webpage gtr24h.org if you want to know anything that's going on. Other than that, it's time for a final message from our sponsors, and I'm going to again now have to excuse the intro on these commercials. That will be fixed for tomorrow, so you don't need to hear the choppy noise of that. But we'll be back tomorrow. Bye-bye.
The 2021 Endurance E-Racing World Championship Round 2 FilmVolt 12 Hours of Silverstone is brought to you in partnership with ESR Esports Network, League Gaming, SimLab, Motorvision.tv, Global Flix, Racing for Green, and AMD Ryzen Radeon.